have the technology worked out from there. And first of all, I want to say compliments to the previous speaker there. How powerful it is to come here and stand and tell your own story and be so brave to tell a story just like what you went through. So absolutely, we say the power of the personal story can beat nothing else. So I'm here this evening, as said, I'm coming from Healthy Ireland, so I'm going to talk and focus on our health. So last night, I sat down to put the slides together and say, well, how do we actually put this together for tonight? And of course, there were three things that were there. Family. The next thing was thoughts to make you think, you, the audience. And of course, the other one we have here was health around it. So I put that together, and that is what I'm going to share with you. Closed my box, sent it off to Sarah, and she told me this morning she had got it. I went off in my planned day today, and I went to an event. And to my surprise, I found myself sitting at an event of where Ronan O'Gara was speaking. And along with Ronan O'Gara speaking was Aidan O'Mahony. And along with Aidan O'Mahony speaking there was the wife of Anthony Foley, you know, manager from the rugby club. I wasn't expecting to see them there. And they were actually speaking about family and sport. And the key things they were talking about, which was really interesting and links on to what you were actually saying. One thing they linked in there, and a whole lot of inspiring messages, and you'll hear a lot of correlation when I go through the slides here. But a real part of that they referred, that took my interest, was they talked about the family of the dressing room. The dressing room in sport. The toughness of that dressing room. But the power of that dressing room. Because you go on the field with anxiety and expectations. You come into that dressing room, perhaps as a hero, but perhaps not as a hero, not having scored that point that might actually make you win. But in that dressing room, everybody in that family, and in that family of sport, they are supporting one another. That is the power of that family within that dressing room. And I just thought, my God, how interesting how that puts it all together for us. Anybody guess what was that event that I was at today, where those people could have been talking? It was actually at the World Meeting of Families, the Congress part in the RDS. And I had no idea how broad that it was actually talking about in relation to families. So in putting together tonight's presentation and actually having this, I just thought, isn't this wonderful to be here talking about families and in that whole national movement and world movement there in relation to families. So moving on to our presentation here, and the focus of mine here, Healthy Ireland. Some of you may have heard of it, maybe some of you didn't. But Healthy Ireland, you might be familiar with that logo that you actually see. Maybe somebody sees a t-shirt, maybe somebody sees it on different slides or booklets, whatever. That is simply the cover of a booklet, and we call it a framework. It was published by government in 2013. But what it is, it actually is a roadmap to take us up into 2025 to change the state of health within our country. And there is a huge movement right across the country to bring about that change. And it is a movement at individual level, at all sectors of society, and all parts of communities. And if you haven't felt it, you will feel it as you actually go along. You will see the ads on the television. So there is the piece there of what is it trying to achieve. So that movement, that roadmap that we're on taking us up into 2025, it is about increasing the number of people that is healthy at all stages of their life. And if we were even to close our eyes and think for a minute, how healthy do we feel that we are? Would we like to be more healthy? It's also focusing on health inequalities, because we know that inequalities plays a huge part in relation to our health. Where we live, the opportunities we have in life, the income we have in life, the opportunities for education. And I'll skip to the last one there. It's about creating that environment where every individual and every sector of society can play a key part in achieving Healthy Ireland. Now the next question is, why do we need a Healthy Ireland? And if I was to ask you, how healthy do we as a population believe that we are here in Ireland? we have good pockets of health. But overall, unfortunately, our health is not good. Our health in Ireland is challenging. And when you just look at a few of those examples that's there, if you actually look and see that 49%, almost 50%, almost half of us, over the age of 50, have one chronic disease. We're talking about diabetes, stroke, cardiovascular, challenges to our mental health. 50. So if we ask ourselves, where are we here? Below 50, over 50. And if you look at that 18% have more than one chronic disease. Chronic disease is something you live with for all your life. You learn to adjust your life to be able to cope with that chronic disease. 1 in every 10 over the age of 50, diabetes, hugely increasing. And these major chronic diseases like diabetes and cardiovascular and respiratory are increasing at a rate of 20 to 30% per annum. So if you think into the future, if we now are at 50% of people over the age of 50, that's going to drop to 40, where this is kicking in relation to our health. 1 in 5 of us experience challenges to our mental health. And there's about 36,000 new cancers diagnosed each year. These chronic diseases, they are actually taking up 80% of GP consultations, 40% of admissions, and 55% of hospital expenditure goes out on chronic disease. But this is the real take-home message, a message to think about, make us think. Chronic disease is largely preventable. So all of those that we have actually said, it is largely preventable. And when you look at being preventable, to make us think that 35% of cancer deaths and the causes of cancer and 65% of cardiovascular disease is largely preventable because we know the risk factors. If you look at coronary heart disease, 80% preventable. And then when you look at from respiratory, tobacco is a leading cause for 73% of that. So we ask ourselves, what makes us healthy? And there are many things that make us healthy. Now there's about 70,000 babies born each year. And we think of a baby being born, we talk about a family and talk about that family, that home. We don't have a choice in that family. Those 70,000 babies leave the maternity hospitals and go out to different environments, different opportunities. And we have to settle ourselves and find ourselves there. The environment that we go into plays a key part. Our genetics play a key part in our lives. And a key part about here is how do we actually have a healthy environment to live in? Do we actually have the same opportunity for all our children to have that education, to rise to employment, to all of those? And that's what Healthy Ireland is about, is trying to raise all of that right across our country. But a key part in this, and right sitting in the middle, is lifestyle choices. Us, ourselves, as the individual. There are some things we cannot change, but there are many, many things we can change in relation to preventing chronic disease and improving our health. And these are the risk factors. These are the demons that's in our lives. Smoking, alcohol, healthy eating and active living, well-being and mental health, and that whole strive for a healthy childhood. Because a good childhood, a healthy childhood, lays a foundation for the rest of your life. And all of that will lead to what we all want. We want to grow old. We want to be on the golf course. We want to be driving our car. We want to be doing our shopping down the street when we're 90 and coming to 100. That's what we want. And we want to be chronic disease free. And can we do it? Yes, we can. We can take a key part in making that happen for ourselves. So I'm just taking 4 or 5 little examples here and things to make you think out of this talk in relation to our health. And the first one I take is smoking. And what I want to say about Healthy Ireland, when we're smoking on those, it's all about a supportive. This is not about a blaming. This is not about you must do, you must. It is about how do we support one another? How do we build that environment? And the first one is, how do we actually help the people that smoke today to quit smoking? Key thing is that almost 6,000 people in 2016 died simply because of the effects of smoking. 1 in every 2 smokers will die of a smoking-related disease. These are the facts, these are the evidence that is there with it. And smoking is a leading risk factor for many debilitating diseases that are there. So I put out this little guy here in saying, think this evening, what's our messages, what's our talks to think about? If you smoke, giving up is probably the greatest single step that you can take to improve your health and your family. There is help out there. Go on to www.quit.ie. Dial that number. If you know somebody that smokes, try and help them. Because that smoke and a smoke-free family, smoke-free environment, it is a key leading factor for us in relation to our health. We are on the journey there of working for Ireland to be smoke-free in 2025. There's just 23% of people that now smoke in Ireland. We might remember the days when we come home from the different places, the smell of smoke in houses, everything from there. We have achieved a lot, and we have to overcome and get those 23% with us on smoking. The other one, alcohol. And we know in Ireland we have that loving relationship with alcohol. Alcohol, it affects both your physical and your mental health. And alcohol, when you actually are drinking above the low risk guidelines, then you are causing the damage to your health. So smoking, I'm saying to you, it is no smoking. For alcohol, this is the one about getting to know what are the safe levels of alcohol that you can actually have. So it's not all killjoy. They are, and that's the important thing. 900 people in Ireland are diagnosed with alcohol-related cancers, and around 500 people die from these diseases every year. We don't make that correlation very well between the harms of alcohol and in relation to our health. And what's really important, and a real take-home message, is an alcohol-free pregnancy. It's not about a glass a week, whatever, it is an alcohol-free pregnancy. So key things out of here is if you drink less, you gain more. And you might have seen that on the GAA and on the semi-final last Sunday week. We talked about drink less and gain more on the pitch. Because you know that if you drink less, you actually have the benefit of better physical activity, better actually of yourself physically. And really importantly, in relation to mental benefits, brighter mood, brighter concentration, better environment is in there with it. So it says, ditch the hangovers, regrets and tiredness, and get healthier and happier. Now this is a hard one because of our Irish culture in relation to alcohol. And people don't particularly like to face up to what are we actually drinking this year with it. So there is help out there, and what I'm actually saying again in this little take-home message out of here is actually just let us look to see what do we drink. Because if I actually said, girls come into the house and say, we'll have a glass of wine. Well, is a glass of wine a unit of alcohol? Look at our Galway crystal glasses, or maybe our Killarney crystal. What will we do? We'll fill them up. If we don't fill them up, you'll go down the road and you say, well, listen, she's a mean old thing. She wouldn't even fill up the glass of wine. Or she maybe wouldn't even give us a second one. And before we know it, we're actually have the bottle of wine almost consumed. And we're actually not realising what we're doing. And it is hard to believe that 28% of us are actually binge drinking, and we really don't know that in our life. So that's a good take-home message for all of us here this evening, is let's go on to ask about alcohol. It's simply a website, and let's just tells you, what are you drinking? And it's hard for us to be honest about it, and it'll tell you whether you're in the safe guidelines or not, or whether you actually need to cut back that little bit in relation to your health. The other one in talking about it is weight. And this is about a healthy weight for all of us. And this is quite a sensitive subject in talking. There's one thing for sure it's actually saying, somebody will meet Sarah and they'll say, God, Sarah, you're looking well, you lost weight. But will they meet Sarah and say, Sarah, do you know what? I think you've actually put on some weight since I last saw you. Huh? I don't think that'll happen. Because we're quite sensitive about it. But being overweight is a key risk factor for our health. A real risk factor, particularly in relation to coronary heart disease. And 60% of us are overweight or obese in our country. And really what is actually frightening is that 1 in 4 children now is actually overweight or obese. And if as a child that you're overweight or obese, it is actually hard all during your life to get that and maintain that back. So there is that huge movement across ourselves here about getting a healthy weight across our population. And in that, as you actually see, that is where we actually have driven out from there. You see that growing piece. And that weight, this huge complexity. And when I'm talking about smoking and alcohol and being overweight, is that we must take into consideration the environments we live can actually place the challenges on it. Because sometimes, you know, if you're up the stairs and you have to go up 2 or 3 flights with your shopping and whatever else in there, you'll say, gee, I want a cigarette. Or God, give me a glass of wine, I've had such a horrible day, or whatever. So that's the complexity of all those things that can lead to us looking and having those props in life. That's why we have and published there that healthy weight for Ireland, which is supporting all of us to get back to actually being our healthy weight. The other one I want to share with you is about physical activity. And this is simply about being active. It's not about going out and running that marathon that you ran or the cycling. That is absolutely fantastic and wonderful to do. But we need to move more. Because the key information that is coming out now, what we're doing right here this evening, sitting. Sitting is the new smoking. Sitting, sedentary lifestyle is really, really harmful to our life. So we need to get that movement into our life and bring that about in all of us. So getting out there and having that walk with colleagues, whether else it's in it or on your own. It's good for all parts, mental health, well-being with it. And that's why we talk about the 10,000 steps a day. Get out there, keep moving. Take the stairs instead of the lift. Leave the car farther down in the car park, walk in from there. And that is what has come out to be known as the new miracle drug. And the Royal College of Physicians said that if we Irish people could understand the benefit of that movement, that physical movement, we would pay any money for it if it was a drug. So that's a key take-home message for us there in relation to, let's look at what we're eating. Let's remember the food pyramid. Let's remember the food and vegetable servings. And also to take in there our 10,000 steps a day. Small changes make that big difference. And let's start today. They're not so simple sometimes to put into our life, but certainly in making that difference. And then our mental health and our well-being. And that is what is so important. Sometimes we talk about health and what is health. Well, I can be disease-free, but I may not have good health because simply the fact I need the well-being factor to feel good, to enjoy life, and to be able to put it in. And it's that coming together of the physical and the mental side that gives me that wholeness, that well-being of being able to enjoy life, to have the resilience to bounce back. As you said, every time in life we're not trouble-free. We all get challenges. We will all face grief. We will always have those, but it is that ability to be able to bounce back. And little things do matter. And there is that little things campaign that you would have come across. So there's strength in numbers. Do things with others. Problems feel smaller when you share them. Talk about them. Lending an ear is like lending a hand. And one that's very important for all of us is 8 hours sleep make the other 16 easier. So that's the little guy here telling you, think about those things as you go home. Can I get more sleep? Can I get more exercise? Can I actually look more at my diet and what I'm doing from there? So that's in pulling it together from there, is that you can make that difference to yourself. And the first thing is always about ourselves. I can't change anyone in this room. The person I can change is myself. And what to say? When you're on the airplane, if you have to put on the gas mask, the oxygen mask, put your own one on first. Because if you don't, you are of no benefit to anybody else. So we start with ourselves and we can ooze that out. And we have that ability to ooze that out and make that connectedness with our family and with our communities, with our friends. And just as you're actually saying, that is our family. It's not just what we're born into, our natural family. It is all of those that's coming together. And it's that coming together that will create that healthy Ireland, that will give that environment where each and every one of us is contributing to it. And let's not forget our network, because the networks are so powerful. The people you know, like, how do I happen to be here this evening? Simply for the fact I live in Mullingar, simply for the fact that there is a lady who comes here and works, Tiffany Jennings-Walsh, and she had known me from Mullingar, talked about this evening, said about Healthy Ireland, and I said, yes, I will come and talk here. Never underestimate the connections and the networks that we actually have. I don't have to tell you, health is our wealth. That's what everybody says,
we would all give any money to buy health that we would have. And in conclusion, why will we not think about our health? Because we need to build this for our future, for our children. We talk about striving really hard to give them an education, give them the best of jobs. But if we don't give them the best of health, we're not going to give them anything at all. And that's why, and all of you in this room are working in different areas, if you're working in planning or working with local authorities, and that's what we do, and I do day in, day out, working across all those areas in relation to policies and making all those changes. Because we want to build the environment that the healthy choice becomes the easier choice. That it is easier for our children to be healthy. Healthy schools, healthy education, healthy sports, healthy environments. And that's where we can make the difference for ourselves and turn around Ireland and make it a